A week ago, I finally saw it, and I haven't been able to get it out of my head since. Tucked away, behind protective glass, out of my reach, but not out of my dreams. Before, I had only seen it in old books, read about it between musty pages like it was a fairy tale. Legends and stories spanning centuries, but now I know it's real. I've seen it with my own eyes. It's no longer a fairy tale. It made me wonder, are the legends and stories real too? And if they are, that means I could fix everything that's wrong with me in my shitty life. I can finally get someone to love me that deserves me, and I can finally have some respect, and everyone will stop laughing at me. No one ever takes me seriously, but they will. I know they will. If I can get my hands on it, to feel its cold curves against my chest, the warm leather cord strapped around my neck, to put on full display to the world that I've been reborn, made anew. From my ashes of my sad existence, I'll rise and shine my light to the heavens so angels will envy me. It's only a matter of time before I get what I rightfully deserve, before I get what's rightfully mine. Every night when my eyes close, I see it. I get closer and closer to it, reach my hand through the glass, and right when it's in my hand, I wake up. But last night, when I woke up in the same spot, my hand tickled like something was there. I've been at work all day feeling it sit in the palm of my hand. My nerves tell me something is there. My hand keeps wanting to grab at the dreams that caress my fingertips. Tonight will be the night. I can feel it calling out to me. It cries to be free of its invisible cage, just like me. So, for tonight, I have an idea. I swiped a few sleeping pills from my parents' house. My bear of a dad takes one of these, and he's out like a light. I'm nowhere near his size, but he isn't trying to save the one and only Bog Mother's talisman from his dreams. I hope 3 will be enough. Bottoms up. Now, to crawl into bed with my old stories of the Bog Mother, the stories told of a great witch that used her magic to control the world around her. First, she learned to control nature. She made the plants and trees grow so thick and tall and tightly bound in vines to create a fortress to protect herself. She then managed to control the animals. They were her eyes and ears. Rats, skunks, and ravens infesting the towns near the bog. She knew of every misdeed and murder, and the darkness that sits in men's hearts. And finally, she controlled men by smelling out their desperation. The stench of their weak wills, fragile minds, and greedy hands smelled ripe and delicious. But like every other living thing, time ravaged her. Her youthful, shapely body became withered and frail, and one day, she simply vanished, like she was carried away by the autumn breeze, only leaving behind her necklace. Over the years, there were hundreds of stories. Some said they heard it whisper to them. Some say it made them nauseous. Others blamed it for their misfortune and believed it was cursed. But for me, it made me feel electric. Seeing it in the museum gave me goosebumps. It made all my little hair stand up on end. I didn't even realize I walked up to its little glass box, my eyes skimming every little detail of it. Looking at myself in the Bisette jewel's crimson reflection, I heard a whispering chitter. Is it trying to talk to me? What's it saying? Nervously, I looked around the room. Security's awfully light, just a woman that can barely stay awake in her chair by the exit. Only if they knew what they had sitting right in front of them. Then, a voice spoke in my head, but it didn't sound like my voice. Get me out of here, it spoke. Turning back to look at the amulet, its glass box had disappeared. The reflection in the middle of the sanguine jewel housed in the talisman, it wasn't mine anymore, or at least I don't think it's mine. Please, take me away from here, it begged. I looked back at the now sleeping security guard slumped in her chair and realized no one else was in the room either. Now is my chance. Your hands are warm. It smiled. My head twisted back to see the Bog Mother's talisman nestled in my hands. When did I pick it up? Isn't there some alarm or something? Put me on, it demanded. I heard the overhead lights turn off with heavy thuds. Looking up, one by one, the lights extinguished from their outer limits of the room. Thud. 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 The only light left is directly above. Looking around, the room is swallowed by an unyielding blackness, except for an exit sign's defiant glow. I don't remember there being an exit sign. Wait, why am I wearing the talisman? Now, run, it yelled. My feet stepped out of my illuminated haven and into the inky black toward the exit sign. But why can't I control my feet? Wait. My feet didn't find ground. Instead, I flipped and tumbled, crashing and screaming into the void and falling out of my bed. On the cold floor of my room, I sat up, gasping for air. It's okay. It was only a dream. Ugh. That's when I felt the leather cord strapped tightly around my neck and the heft of the talisman resting on my chest. And that's when I heard the voice speak to me one more time. Again, I shall walk this earth with your feet, taste the world with your mouth, feel the air on your skin.
And it will be most delicious.
Goats bleated recklessly their warning. Oh no, she's back. I scrambled around the one-room cabin, splashed a bit of lukewarm water on my face, and dove under the blankets she secured me with before leaving. The cabin sat far away from the village. No one ever came out here, not with all the rumors and whatnot, so I knew the approaching footfalls belonged to her. If she caught me out of bed, there would surely be hell to pay. I don't know where she'd been, but she believed me to be sick enough that I could be trusted to be on my own. Ha! A mistake on her part. Then again, perhaps I was. The veins in my hand had turned dark purple, the skin red. I had a wicked fever, but I was always cold. It wasn't going to stop me, though. I'd spent my blessed free time scurrying around the four walls, looking for egress. Oh, what I'd give to breathe the fresh autumn air. The old lock clicked, then the bulky door creaked open. A hunched figure draped in black robes scuffled through the opening, allowing a modicum of bright sunlight into the room. The only bit of color to be found anywhere was her stringy red hair. I went limp, attempting to appear asleep, but kept my eyes cracked ever so slightly. She carried a large wicker basket brimming with God only knew what. She pulled out a large packet of something, wrapped in a bleeding brown paper, and plunked it onto the table before hanging the herbs on a hook and placing the basket on the table as well. I can only guess what that packet contained. After all, the Witch of Brimley Falls was not allowed in the town. Only days ago I ran through the woods playing soldier, stick held high, shouting commands at my imaginary troops. I ruled the world. I'd been told plenty of times it wasn't ladylike, but ladylike activities weren't me-like. I much preferred rolling in the leaves, wearing trousers, and brandishing my stick swords at any who dared betray me. I often played deep in the woods, where no one could judge me. But this day, I romped around on the edge of town and on the edge of the forest. The skies were cloaked in massive storm clouds, and the trees blocked just about any remaining light. I strained my eyes to see where I traipsed, but I wanted to get my playtime in before the rain fell. If the clouds were any indication, the rain would last for days. Unfortunately, in the dim light, my foot found an upturned root, and my face met the ground. It didn't hurt much, and crying would have been too girly, so I stood up and brushed the dirt out of my hair. When I caught sight of my hand, however, I nearly passed out. A stake pierced the center of my palm. I didn't realize I was so close to the perimeter of town. I should have been watching for traps. This was small, so I guessed it had once been a part of the larger spikes chipped off and tossed to the side. I didn't feel it yet, but I knew it most definitely was not supposed to be in my hand. I panicked about what to do. This would surely land me in trouble. I was not supposed to be playing out here. I gripped the stick very tightly, gritted my teeth, and yanked. Oh God almighty, that hurt. But it didn't come out all the way, so I yanked it again and again before it finally freed. It was the worst pain I'd ever known. Had I realized it would hurt so much, I would have just left it in and became the tree girl and embraced my new wooden limb. It had also plugged up the hole, which now bled profusely. My head swam and my vision faded. I knew what was coming, but if I passed out here, things would only get much worse. I sat on my knees. The nausea abated a tiny bit. It was enough for me to tear a piece of my cloak off and wrap it around the wound. I tried with my good hand to make a knot. As I pulled it taut, the tender flesh and throbbing nerves sent a fresh wave of pain through my body, and I fell over. That's when she snatched me up. The next thing I remember, I woke up in the one-room cabin, my hand wrapped up properly. She paid me no mind as she stoked the fire. The place was already insufferably hot, but she added a log, first squelching the flame, then allowing them to burn brighter. She fixed a large black pot, a cauldron you could say, to the rod above the fire and filled it with water. Once it bubbled nice and consistently, she grabbed the mysterious package. Swiping it off the table, she glanced back at me, then tucked it closer to her body. Her back faced me as I heard the package's contents plop into the water. Gross. Food should sizzle or steam, not plop. After depositing the mystery contents, she became less secretive. Shelves filled with jars of herbs and spices lined the fireplace, and she added several quite liberally. In no time at all, the tiny room filled with an overwhelmingly putrid aroma, underscored by a hint of sweetness. The basket's remaining contents, some questionable vegetables, rolled out onto the table. She chopped them up into bite-sized pieces and added them to the brew. I continued to feign sleepiness while she walked around the room, occasionally tidying something, occasionally stirring the cauldron. Before I knew it, the warmth, the smells, all lured me into an actual sleep. Don't get me wrong, I fought it the best I could, but short of jumping out of the window, there really wasn't much I could do. And yes, I already tried jumping out of the window. The first day I'd woken up here, she was out. I thought it was my best chance to romp around free again, but my recon was off. She caught me and promptly placed me back in bed. I awoke sometime later to a sharp pain in my hand. She shussed me and pushed me back down. I spied a look at what she was doing, changing my bandage. I shouldn't have looked. It was disgusting, red and purple, puffy and oozy. I almost vomited, though I couldn't tell whether it was from revulsion or pain. I hadn't let myself look at it before, but at that moment it became clear that I wasn't going anywhere until it healed. If it healed. Skeletal, clammy hands rubbed a wet cloth over the wound repeatedly, provoking the pain. Then she rubbed something full of leaves and equally as smelly all over before wrapping my whole hand once more in cleaned bandages. I should have been grateful she wasn't just letting it rot off. Bones creaked as she stood up. She took my good hand and helped me off the bed before motioning towards the table. Residual pain still coursed through my body. Sweat rolled off me and my legs were weaker than I thought. After a moment of gaining my bearings, I walked to the table and sat down. She placed a bowl of steaming stew before me. My tummy rumbled ravenously, and I quickly dug in. She sat across from me with her own bowl. I stirred through the liquid and its contents, carrots, potatoes, some celery, until I found the contents of the mystery package. Eagerly, I fished a chunk out with my spoon and examined it.
Is it beef?
I nearly yelled, unable to contain myself. She nodded. It is. So you better eat every bite. We didn't have cows. They weren't something the two of us were capable of raising and slaughtering. This had to have meant that she went into the village. It wasn't like we were forbidden from going, but the villagers made it quite clear we were unwelcome. But Mom had gone, all to take care of me.